What if the end of the world wasn't a disaster, but a decision? Welcome to Aurora Protocol, a sci-fi bedtime story set in a post-apocalyptic world, where one woman begins to remember a truth buried deep in her mind. The sky isn't what it seems. The past was never truly lost, and the key to humanity's fate might be hidden in her forgotten memories. The world ended, not with fire, not with thunder, but with silence. Long after the cities dimmed and the skies grew quiet, the earth breathed slower. What once buzzed with lights and voices now sleeps under ash and wind. She walks alone, boots pressing into cracked soil. Steel towers rise like skeletons in the distance. They do not remember their purpose, neither does she. The wind carries dust, soft as whispers. It swirls around empty signs, broken roads, rusted names no one reads anymore. The world forgot itself. She carries no map, only instinct, and a name stitched into a jacket she doesn't remember choosing. May. Nights are cold here, but not cruel. Stars shine faintly through a thick sky, watching distant, uncaring. She lies beneath them, back against crumbling stone, and listens. No predators, no screams, only the breath of a planet in mourning. Yet sometimes in that silence, she hears something else, a rhythm, a pattern, like footsteps that are not hers, or a memory trying to surface. She closes her eyes, and for a moment, she sees lights dancing across a frozen sky, colors that feel older than the stars. She doesn't know what they mean, not yet, but they are waiting. She wakes with the dawn. Pale light spills through the cracked ceiling above her, painting soft patterns across her face. The kind of morning that feels like it remembers something you've forgotten. She rises slowly, careful not to disturb the quiet. Every movement is deliberate, as though the world might shatter if she steps too hard. In her hand, a small metal tag, faded, worn, just one word engraved. May. She doesn't know if it's her real name, but it feels right, like the name has always been there, just waiting for her to find it again. Her reflection, in the glass of a shattered storefront, is unfamiliar. Brown eyes too steady for someone who remembers so little. Hair tangled, skin weathered by ash and time. Still, there's something in her face, a shadow of purpose, tucked just behind the eyes. She doesn't remember the world ending. Not exactly, only pieces. A sound like static, a flash of green light. A scream that didn't come from a mouth. It comes at night, in moments between waking and sleep. A feeling sharp and sudden, déjà vu, as if the past isn't gone, just buried. May collects what she can carry. A ration pack, a water flask, a faded map with no markings. She sets out again, moving toward the horizon where the land turns, pale and cold. She doesn't know where she's going, but something inside her does. It whispers without words, nudging her forward, toward the place where memory begins, and the sky, far above, holds its breath. The snow begins without warning, soft, silent, endless. Each flake drifts like a thought too gentle to speak aloud. They settle on her shoulders, her boots, her eyelashes, as if the sky is trying to remember her face. May moves slowly now. The wind isn't harsh, but it carries weight. Weight of stories untold, of things frozen not by cold, but by time. She finds shelter in the ruins of an old communications tower. Its steel ribs lean tiredly against a hill, its broken dishes like petals scattered in the drift. Inside, the air is still. Echoes hide in every corner. Rust hums beneath her fingers as she traces old terminals, long powered down. She doesn't know why this place feels familiar. That night, as she lies curled beneath torn blankets and the bones of machines, the sky awakens. It begins with a flicker, then a shimmer, then waves of color, green, violet, pale blue, spilling silently across the heavens. Not lightning, not fire, Aurora, but not the kind whispered of in old books. These lights move with intention, they pulse, they echo something buried in her chest. And suddenly, she's not lying in snow, she's somewhere else. Glass ceilings, voices behind walls, children laughing. A warning alarm no one hears in time. She gasps awake. The lights still dance above. Too perfect, too familiar. Not a dream, a memory. And in the quiet that follows, A single thought lands gently in her mind. I've seen these before, ... but not from here. The mountains rise like sleeping giants, their peaks lost in cloud and silence. May walks between them, her breath soft mist in the morning cold. The snow is deeper here, untouched, undisturbed for years, maybe decades. Yet something calls to her from beneath the ground, a pull she cannot name but cannot ignore. She follows the signal only she can feel, past frozen streams, collapsed bridges, and trees turned to crystal by time. Then, tucked against a stone cliff hidden by frost and shadow, she finds it. A door, round, metallic, half buried in ice. It hums faintly, like a memory trying to wake. May brushes away the snow. Her fingers find an old panel cold to the touch, but still alive. A soft light blinks once, then again, and the door opens with a sigh, like the mountain itself exhaling. Inside, the air is warmer, stale, but waiting. She descends a spiral staircase lit by flickering strips of dim light. Every step echoes, as if she's walking into herself, into her own forgotten past. The chamber at the bottom is vast. Glass walls, steel, pylons, cables coiled like vines. Screens long black, yet one, just one, pulses softly with blue light. There are symbols on the walls. Schematics, names, equations written in languages no longer taught, but May doesn't need to read them. She knows them. Her hands move without thought, tracing the edges of machines. Resting on surfaces her body remembers even if her mind does not. And then, a whisper of sound. A power cycle awakens. One by one, screens flicker on, and the silence breaks with a low, steady hum. She is not an intruder here. She was always meant to return. And buried beneath this mountain lies the truth she once helped to hide. The hum of the machine fills the chamber like a low heartbeat. Steady, familiar. May stand still, surrounded by the glow of forgotten systems, now waking from their long slumber. She doesn't remember activating them, but her hands did. They moved, with the calm of someone who's done this before. The air tastes of metal and static, and something else, memory. The screens begin to play fragments, not video, not images, but moments, but frozen in light. A garden beneath a dome, children chasing holograms through rows of green. A sterile lab bathed in white, filled with voices to calm for what they were building. And then an alert, red, silent. A countdown hidden in the corner of the screen. The fragments bleed into her vision. Not just seen, felt. Her knees buckle. The room tilts. And suddenly, she is no longer in the mountain. She's standing in that lab. She smells the ozone in the air, feels the vibration of a reactor humming just below the floor. Sees a glass cylinder in the center of the room, glowing with something alive. And all around her, people she doesn't remember, calling her name that isn't just May. One of them turns, eyes urgent, voice raised in silent warning. But the moment cracks like glass. She's back in the bunker. On the floor, breath shallow, heart pounding. Her fingers tremble, not from fear, but from recognition. These are not dreams, they are echoes. Pieces of a truth sealed behind time, waiting for someone to return and gather them. May closes her eyes, and in the stillness of the machine, a phrase drifts through her thoughts like a whisper caught in wind. The Aurora was never natural. The machine has a name, not printed, not spoken, but embedded deep in its code. 3 words hidden in overlapping layers of data. Aurora Override Protocol. May sits before the terminal, its dim glow casting long shadows across her face. She reads slowly, line by line, as if uncovering her own reflection. The protocol was designed to stabilize a dying world, not through healing, but through erasure. Systems to regulate climate, shift oceans, silence storms. But if the process failed, or if control was lost, it would not stop. It would reset. Not just the environment, but memory, data, history, everything humanity had been. She leans back, breath caught in her throat. This wasn't a disaster. It was a decision, a final contingency by minds too tired to fight, too proud to grieve. And May was one of them, a scientist, a designer, one of the voices behind the override. But somewhere along the way, she changed her mind. She tried to stop it, and when she couldn't, She chose to forget. She chose sleep. To be reborn in a future stripped of her guilt. Now she is awake, and the sky outside, still stained with auroras, reminds her that the protocol still runs, unquestioned, unchallenged, erasing whatever dares to remember. May looks to the dark ceiling of the bunker, as if it might open and reveal the stars beyond, but they're gone. Only the artificial lights remain, dancing in the sky like they own it, and beneath them, the last person who knows the truth takes a breath, deeper than she's taken in years. She doesn't know yet what she'll do, but she knows this: the Aurora was built, and what is built can be shut down. She climbs. A rusted tower reaches into the clouded sky, its frame bent, its bolts weathered by decades of snow and silence. May ascends carefully, each rung creaking under her weight, each breath thinner as the cold sharpens with height. She climbs not to escape, but to see. To look beyond the walls of the bunker, beyond the illusion the protocol cast across the world. At the top, the wind greets her, sharp, clean, empty. And the view: vast hills of frost, skeletal forests, and ruined cities swallowed by time. No smoke, no movement, only stillness. She gazes upward. The aurora hangs overhead, beautiful and wrong. A soft cascade of greens and purples, fluttering in patterns too rhythmic to be natural. And then, she notices something. The lights pulse, not randomly. They blink. A pause, a flicker, a repeat binary, not beauty code. May's heart slows. The sky isn't a sky, it's a system, a veil, a layer of projected illusion stitched into the upper atmosphere. Not just to monitor, to control. The protocol didn't just erase memory, it rewrote reality. She watches the horizon and realizes the stars don't shift. They don't move as they should. They're frozen, fixed like decals on a dome. A simulation of hope, a lie. And somehow, this tower, this forgotten rusting remnant, sits just high enough to see past the edge, past the seams in the sky. She sees one real star beyond the veil, faint, flickering, still trying to shine. And in that moment, she knows the world didn't die. It was locked away. In the lower chambers of the mountain, beneath layers of ice and silence, there is a door she almost overlooked. Small, unmarked, heavy. It opens with a hiss, the kind that sounds like the end of a long breath. Inside, the room glows blue, and at its center, a cryogenic pod, frosted sealed. Her reflection stares back at her through the curved glass. But it's not just a reflection, it's her. Another. May still unmoving, preserved in the moment just before forgetting. The pod hums. Faintly readouts flicker on a nearby screen. Brainwave backups, identity tags, mission logs, and a single label pulsing in red. Memory lock engaged. May stands frozen, as if the room itself holds its breath with her. She understands now. The May inside the pod, the version of herself that remembered everything, chose this. To be put to sleep, to erase her past, to wake in a world reshaped, without burden, without guilt. But the protocol didn't just alter the sky, it altered her. It locked her mind behind a wall of synthetic amnesia, wrapped in dreams of survival, guarded by light and silence. And yet, her mind fought back, a quiet rebellion. Dreams, visions, déjà vu, tiny cracks in the lock. May places her hand on the glass. It's cold, but not lifeless. The version of her inside never died. It simply waited for this moment, not to relive the past, but to finish what was started. Outside, the auroras begin to shift again. Faster, less graceful. The system feels her awakening. It knows she remembers, and it is afraid. May leaves the mountain as spring begins to stir beneath the snow. Not a true spring, but something close. A thaw in the wind, a softness in the sky. She walks west. The path is long, winding through what used to be towns, now quiet gardens of ruin and memory. In one place, she finds a child's bicycle, its wheels rusted into the earth, a backpack beside it, untouched. Inside, crayons, a notebook filled with stars. In another, a small church leans against a hillside. Inside, rows of pews dusted with frost. Candles never lit. A hymn book open to a page about light. She walks on. Every ruin holds something human. A letter tucked into a drawer, a photo buried beneath broken glass, a handprint, small and fading, on the wall of a shelter no longer standing. She doesn't know their names, but she feels their presence. Not haunting, watching, witnesses to what was taken, what was locked away. The Aurora Protocol didn't just erase memory. It erased the threads that tied people together. But in the spaces between silence, May begins to gather them again. Not as data, not as facts, but as feeling. She stops one night on a ridge, where the sky is unusually clear. She lays beneath the shifting lights and for a moment, lets herself remember everything. The science, the failure, the fear, the choice to forget. She whispers a name she once carried, not aloud but in her heart, and for the first time it feels lighter. She's no longer running from the past, she's walking with it, toward what comes next. The final relay tower waits in the desert, its frame reaching upward like a lone finger pointing at a forgotten heaven. May stands beneath it, the dust swirling quietly around her boots. Here the system is still awake, still humming, still guarding. The lie, inside, the consoles are old, but her hands know what to do. She doesn't need to read the codes anymore. She remembers. Each keystroke is a choice. Not just to shut it down, but to set something free. She finds the core directive, the line of logic that turned protection into control, that made silence look like peace. And she rewrites it, not to erase, but to restore. Outside the sky shudders the aurora's ripple. Flicker then stutter. Colors break apart like melting paint. The patterns dissolve, and the veil begins to fall. One by one, the stars return. Real stars, faint, distant, alive. She steps outside as the false sky collapses overhead. No longer a shroud, but a memory of what was. The wind feels different now, lighter, like the world is breathing again. She doesn't cry, she just watches. As the first sunrise touches the edges of the earth, not manufactured light, but warmth born from a sun no longer hidden. Somewhere deep inside her, the locked door finally opens, and behind it, not pain, but quiet. Hope not as a grand gesture, but as a single star, seen clearly for the first time. May closes her eyes. Not to forget, but to rest. The world is no longer ending, it's beginning again.